What would you do if the person you raised as your own child turned against you in the dead of night? How far can betrayal go when trust is shattered within the walls of a family home? Imagine waking up to the sound of footsteps creeping through the darkness, only to find danger doesn't come from outside but from within. What could drive a son to turn his back on the very people who gave him a second chance at life? And how does a family survive the unimaginable when love becomes a weapon? Housevil. True crime involving family. Every family has secrets, any family can cross the line. Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome to Houseville, where we explore the darkest stories of family secrets turned tragic. Today's story is one that will leave you questioning how far trust can be pushed before it breaks. This is the story of Tucker Cipriano, a young man who had everything a loving family could offer, yet whose choices led to one of the most chilling home invasions in Farmington Hills, Michigan. A crime that wasn't just shocking, it was personal. Stay with me as we unravel the Cipriano family horror, a case that reveals how addiction, resentment, and a single night of chaos can destroy lives forever. To understand the tragedy that unfolded in the Cipriano home, we first need to look at the family itself. The Ciprianos were well known in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Robert and Rosemary Cipriano were a loving couple who valued family above all else. They had 3 biological children, Tanner, Salvatore, and Isabella, and had opened their hearts to adopt another, Tucker Cipriano, when he was just a young boy. By all accounts, the Cipriano household was a warm and caring place where the children had every opportunity to thrive. But like many families, there were cracks beneath the surface. Tucker, born on April 5, 1993, struggled to find his place in the world. Despite his parents' support and encouragement, he often rebelled against their expectations. In high school, Tucker's troubles began to escalate. He fell in with a bad crowd, and substance abuse became a growing problem. Rosemary and Robert tried to intervene, but the gap between Tucker and his family seemed to widen with every passing year. By 2012, Tucker was 18 years old and at a crossroads. He had applied to MEAC College of Technology, but there was a catch. He needed to cover the enrollment fees. When Tucker failed to make any effort to pay, Rosemary, frustrated by his lack of responsibility, gave him an ultimatum: get serious about his future or leave the house. The decision wasn't easy for her, but she hoped it would push Tucker to turn his life around. Instead, it drove him further into the grip of anger and resentment. In the weeks following his departure, Tucker drifted aimlessly. He reconnected with a childhood friend, Ian Zinderman, and the two began spending time with another young man, Mitchell Young. Mitchell, then 20 years old, had his own troubled history and was living out of a van. The trio quickly became inseparable, bonded by a shared sense of aimlessness and a dangerous love for synthetic drugs like K2, a potent and unpredictable form of synthetic marijuana. What began as harmless companionship soon spiraled into something much darker. The three started discussing ways to make quick money. Tucker, filled with bitterness toward his family, floated an idea that should have been unthinkable: breaking into his parents' home to steal money and valuables. It wasn't just about greed. It was revenge. On the night of April 15, 2012, Tucker Cipriano and his friends Ian Zinderman and Mitchell Young set their plan into motion. Initially, it was meant to be a simple burglary. Tucker assured his friends that he knew where his parents kept their debit cards and that they could easily take the money and leave. The trio drove to the Cipriano family home under the cover of darkness, their thoughts clouded by the effects of K2 synthetic marijuana. When they arrived, Tucker and Ian entered the house while Mitchell waited in the van. The plan seemed straightforward, but things began to unravel almost immediately. They managed to steal a debit card, but attempts to withdraw cash at a nearby gas station were unsuccessful. Frustrated and desperate, they used the card to purchase more K2 and fuel for Mitchell's van before returning to the house for a second attempt. What happened next marked the point of no return. Upon discovering that the stolen card held only $2.65 instead of the $265 Tucker expected, anger bubbled to the surface. The group was out of options, and Tucker's frustration turned into rage. Mitchell, already a volatile personality, egged him on, and together they devised a chilling new plan. They would go back to the house, kill Tucker's family, and take whatever they could find. Ian, horrified by the escalating situation, refused to participate and stayed behind at a friend's house. In the early hours of April 16th, Tucker and Mitchell returned to the Cipriano home armed with knives and an Easton baseball bat. As they prepared to break in, the family's dog, Emmy, began barking, alerting Robert Cipriano to their presence. The noise brought Robert into the kitchen, where he confronted his adoptive son and his accomplice. What followed was a scene of unimaginable horror. In a sudden burst of violence, Tucker struck his father with the baseball bat. Mitchell hesitated, seemingly taken aback by the brutality of the attack, but Tucker's chilling words left him no choice. "You're in," Tucker said, handing him the bat. "Or you're with them." Mitchell, now fully complicit, began delivering blows to Robert as he lay helpless on the kitchen floor. The commotion woke Rosemary Cipriano and the couple's youngest daughter, 8-year-old Isabella. Rosemary rushed to protect her husband, grabbing a bat of her own in a desperate attempt to fend off the attackers. Isabella, terrified but brave, joined her mother in the struggle, but the odds were against them. Mitchell overpowered Rosemary and struck her repeatedly, leaving her severely injured. Meanwhile, Tucker's 17-year-old brother Salvatore was pulled from his bed and beaten mercilessly. Upstairs, their other brother, Tanner, managed to hide and call 911, his voice trembling as he described the chaos unfolding below. His call would prove crucial in saving the lives of his surviving family members. By the time police arrived, Robert Cipriano was dead. Rosemary had suffered permanent physical injuries, and Salvatore sustained traumatic brain damage that would affect him for the rest of his life. Tucker and Mitchell, their clothes and hands stained with blood, fled the scene but were apprehended shortly after. When police arrived at the Cipriano home in the early hours of April 16, 2012, they were met with a scene of absolute carnage. Robert Cipriano's lifeless body lay in the kitchen, the once vibrant father of 4 now a victim of an unspeakable act of violence. Rosemary and Salvatore were critically injured, clinging to life amidst the chaos. Little Isabella, though physically unharmed, was left emotionally shattered after witnessing the horrors that unfolded in her own home. The bravery of Tanner, who managed to hide and call 911, cannot be overstated. His calm yet terrified voice on the recording gave authorities the crucial information they needed to respond swiftly. Within hours, police tracked down Tucker and Mitchell. The two were arrested not far from the scene, still under the influence of K2, and covered in the evidence of their crime. What emerged during the investigation revealed a chilling narrative of premeditation and cruelty. Tucker and Mitchell had meticulously planned the attack over the course of several days, discussing who would be responsible for each family member. The brutality with which they executed their plan stunned even seasoned investigators. Ian Zinderman, the third member of the group, played a pivotal role in the case. While he had backed out of the crime at the last moment, his testimony provided critical insight into the motives and mindset of Tucker and Mitchell. He revealed their anger over the failed debit card theft and their chilling decision to escalate the burglary into a deadly attack. As the case went to trial, the Cipriano family's story captured national attention. How could a son, adopted and loved by a family that gave him every opportunity, turn on them with such ferocity? And how could a friend become an accomplice in such a heinous act? Tucker Cipriano ultimately pled no contest to charges of first-degree murder, admitting his role in the crime without formally contesting the accusations. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Mitchell Young, on the other hand, chose to fight the charges. He pled not guilty to 5 counts, including premeditated murder, attempted murder, and armed robbery. During the trial, Mitchell's defense argued that he had been coerced by Tucker and acted out of fear. However, the evidence painted a different picture. Witnesses described Mitchell as a willing participant, and the brutality of his actions spoke volumes. The jury found him guilty on all counts, and he too was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2014, Mitchell attempted to appeal his conviction, but it was denied. The court stood firm in their decision, ensuring that both he and Tucker would remain behind bars for the rest of their lives. The aftermath of the Cipriano home invasion left scars that could never fully heal. Rosemary, though physically scarred and emotionally devastated, displayed remarkable resilience. She became a pillar of strength for her surviving children, Tanner, Salvatore, and Isabella, as they struggled to rebuild their lives. Salvatore faced an uphill battle with his injuries, enduring permanent brain damage that required ongoing care. The tragedy sent shockwaves through Farmington Hills, a community unaccustomed to such violence. The Cipriano family, once a symbol of love and togetherness, became a sobering reminder of how addiction, resentment, and poor choices can lead to unimaginable consequences. The Cipriano case is a haunting reminder of how addiction and anger can warp a person's judgment, leading to decisions that devastate not only their victims but everyone around them. Tucker Cipriano wasn't just a son, he was a brother, a family member, someone who had been given a second chance at life through adoption. Yet his choices, fueled by resentment and substance abuse, destroyed the very people who had given him love and security. For the survivors, Rosemary, Tanner, Salvatore, and Isabella, the road to healing has been long and arduous. While justice was served with the life sentences handed to Tucker and Mitchell, the emotional and physical scars of that night will remain with the Cipriano family forever. As we reflect on this case, it's impossible not to wonder, could anything have prevented this? Could Tucker's path have been changed with earlier intervention or more support? These questions may never have definitive answers, but they remind us of the importance of addressing issues like addiction and family discord before they escalate into tragedy. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to subscribe to Housevil for more stories that reveal the dark truths behind family bonds. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think drives someone to commit such an unthinkable act against their own family? I'd love to hear your perspectives. Thank you for joining me today on this journey into the Cipriano home horror. I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore another case that reminds us just how fragile trust can be.